All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Professor Jeremiah Elioso, and welcome to Operations Management. In our last session, we have had an overview on the concept and definition of operations management in the hospitality industry. For our session for today, we are going to focus our discussion on the various theories associated with the operations management. So we have actually had the first two theory, the theory of process choice and the theory of swift and even flow. And the main focus of our discussion today is the theory of lean manufacturing, performance frontiers, and service experience. But just so we could have a quick recap on the first two theories, let us review the theory of process choice and the theory of swift and even flow just very quickly. So, according to Hayes and Wheelwright, the theory of process choice, they have identified that firms adopted different types of process in order to manufacture products. So the companies would have their choice as to which process that they will be using, and this is highly dependent on the types of products that they are producing, the variety of their products, and the volume of their production. So we could infer, looking into this diagram or illustration, as we go into the right side of the diagram, you could see that there is a continuous process flow, and the actions are repeated or divided due to the high volume of production of the products. However, when you go up, or meaning to say that there is an increasing variety of your production, your process flow is more intermittent, or it could change, and your process tasks are more diverse and more complex. So this pertains to the project-based activity, job shop operation. Okay. And we could, an example of this would be such that of the trends identified by Jones in 1988, which is what he calls the production lining, or otherwise known as the McDonaldization of society. Yes, it is associated with the brand McDonald's, and it is because people associate the production lining with how the fast food restaurants are producing their products. I know that you are aware how the products are prepared, and there are people um, who are in the production line to prepare this kinds of products, such that one person is charged of doing something, the other is doing something in order to produce a cohesive product or meals. Just like how as if you watch the Hell's Kitchen, and how the line chefs prepare a meal. Say, for example, that the executive chef will be receiving the order, the the one who is in charge for the main course is preparing for the meat, the other one is preparing for the vegetable, and the saucier would be preparing for the sauce. And this would, I mean, you need to have good communication lines so that you'll be able to arrive at a cohesive order in a timely manner. So that is what we meant by the production line, or the McDonaldization. We also have what we call a trend called decoupling, or the separation of the back of the house activity and the front of the house activity. For large establishments, it has to be separated so that there is an efficient distribution of work, and thus you could apply the McDonaldization or the production line, just like how it's being done at the back of the house, just like what I have mentioned a while ago. All right, for the second theory is the theory of swift and flow. And it says here that it holds that the more swift and even the flow of materials through the process, the more productive the process is. And that is what We want to strive as an organization that we wanted our production to be smooth so that we would be able to achieve more. And that is the proposition of Schmenner and Swink 1998. And there are various laws associated with the theory of swift and even flow. And it says here that there's when there's greater randomness and greater variability in your process or in your input, there is decreasing level of productivity. We're not saying that when you have varied activity, varied inputs, you are better than the other. It's just that you have to find the right fit of process that you feel that will yield greater productivity, or that will be more beneficial for your organization. But somewhere along the way, there will be bottlenecks or problems. So it says here that the law of bottlenecks is that the greater the difference in the rate of flow through the stage in a process, the less productive the process is. That's why most organizations are trying to establish a standard operating procedure so that every time that you're going to repeat the process, you will have almost the same result or output. And the fourth law is the law of prioritization. In operations and inherent instability, the greater the instability and the greater the prioritization of orders. Meaning to say that, just like in real life, we have to set priorities as to which step or which activity we feel is more important or should be given greater priority. All right, let us now go to the third theory, which is the theory of lean manufacturing. So, this theory basically states that productivity is enhanced by applying the principles designed to eliminate wastes of all kinds. And in the manufacturing industry, in as much as possible, we wanted to yield greater productivity to have more output. So, it has to uh, conform to the two Qs, meaning to say that we are able to produce greater volume or greater quantity. That's the first Q, and the other one is the quality of your products. Now, in order to achieve this, we have, or the Japanese guru Taiichi Ono, former chief engineer of Toyota, has identified 7 types of wastes. Okay, so we should be avoiding this in order to yield more, in order to produce more, and or in order to have a leaner production. So we have to avoid doing too much. Just like what I have mentioned, although quality quantity is also essential, but we have to make sure that we should not be sacrificing quality over quantity. So we have to make sure in all of the things that we do, it is in accordance with the standards or the standard operating procedure, and that we're not doing too much unnecessary work, unnecessary process, which does not contribute to the production of a quality output. So that is doing too much. And number two is waiting. Waiting is such a waste of time, and we are some way guilty of this because as Filipinos, we waste so much time of the others. We're not so much mindful and respectful of other people's time because it's such a waiting is such a waste of a very important resource, which is the time element. So in as much as possible, we have to, just like what I have mentioned, to learn how to be able to prioritize things which should come first, because waiting is so much waste. Number three is transporting. Why is transporting considered a waste? Where transporting or the mobility of or this is part of the process or an important process in production, because you need to transport your goods from one place to another. However, we have to consider that in the transportation of your products or in the delivery of your products, there are so much time that are wasted. There are resources that are wasted. Say, for example, gas, financial resource, the delivery time is being wasted. But I'm not saying that it's a total waste. I'm not saying that it can be totally avoided. However, it can be reduced so that we will be able to produce more. If you could make the the distance more proximate or more shorter, then maybe that will yield greater effect. I mean, yield greater output. Okay, and then number four is too much inflexible capacity or lack of process flexibility. So the word is negative in itself, because in an organization we have to be flexible, or the process has to be flexible. It must be able to adapt to various kinds of situation, because not all situation will favor us. Sometimes there are problems along the way, and we have to learn how to adjust and to adapt to the situation. And then number five is unnecessary stocks. Okay. So in production, say for example in restaurants, you have to stock ingredients, right? However, the stocking of the ingredients should be at its optimum level, meaning to say that you cannot overstock, you also cannot be understocked. Why? Because when you overstock, there's so much capital that are being tied up on your raw materials or your ingredients, where this capital allocation could be used for other activities or processes of the restaurants. And in reality, we there are instances by which some of the products has expiration date. It has perishability. So we have to consider those, and that we cannot afford the product to be expired or to perish, because that's a total wastage of money. Okay, so you just have to stock at the optimum level, meaning to say, because in supply chain management, there is a computation for that, uh, on the rate at which you can reorder, or that's the reorder point, so that you will be able to have an efficient and effective management of your products or of your stocks. Number six is unnecessary motions. Just like with the number one, the first identified type of waste is doing too much or doing unnecessary things. All right? Because if you feel that that particular process or activity does not contribute to the achievement of the goal or objective of the organization, then that can be reduced or it can be eliminated. Okay. So, and number seven would be defects. All right. And in total quality management, we have a zero defects theory. However, since we live in a or a normal environment, would not have to be perfect. And obviously, there will be errors along the way, but in as much as possible, we try to avoid committing mistakes, because when you have committed mistakes, there's a lot of resources of the company that are put into waste. That's why you would notice that Some products are being sold at a much lower price because these are considered defective or substandards or what we call overruns. Some are a total waste, but some are can be used, but it cannot be since we are advocating the achievement of the highest standards of our products. This cannot go to the market, or this cannot be sold to your clients. However, some companies are considering that rather than putting this into waste, they are removing their labels onto it, and it's being sold at a much lower price to a different kind of market. All right. So there are various laws associated with the theory of lean manufacturing. Okay, the first is the law of scientific method. Labor productivity is improved by applying a scientific management principles. So it is best that we follow a scientific management principle or a standard operating procedure, because by research it has been proven to be effective to contribute to the production. It yields greater output, it yields high quality result. Okay. And number two is the law of quality. Productivity improves as quality improves. Since waste is eliminated, and this is controversial law that may not hold in all cases, although there is a widespread anecdotal evidence that it is generally true. Just like in everything that we do, in as much as possible, like in restaurants, you wanted to really invest on high quality materials, high quality ingredients, so that you will produce high quality product. Your productivity will also improve. Okay, so that is the essence or the meaning of law of quality. Then the law of limited tasks. Factories that perform a limited number of tasks will be more productive than similar factories with a broad range of tasks. And looking back with what I have explained a while ago on the law of process flow, when the production of a firm is voluminous and it has less variety, you are you may be doing a repetitive task, limited number of tasks. And by that, since the tasks are limited and repetitive, people are able to perfect those activity because of repetition. But if your company have varied tasks, or it's ever changing, it's dynamic, it's very difficult to standardize a task, because usually the production is project based or in job shop operation. Okay? Then the law of value added. A process will be more productive if non value added steps are reduced or eliminated. So, from the word itself, if it does not give value to the final product, then that could be removed. That is only a waste, as we have mentioned a while ago of the seven types of waste. So it will only contribute to the increasing cost of the company. So, of course, we wanted to be more productive as a company. So, this non value added step should be removed. Okay, so how can this be applied in the tourism and hospitality industry? So, example of this would be automation. And now that we are on the 21st century, the advent of technology is at its peak. You see technologies everywhere. You see that some processes are being automated. When you go to McDonald's, you have the choice or option to take the digital ordering system, by which there's a large monitor, and you just have to select your order, and it will print a receipt, and you just have to pay your order at the cashier and just wait on the side for your order. However, with automation, we see that there's an advantage and disadvantage to this. As a third world country, we are so much behind the use of technology and machinery. But when you look at a first world country, say in America and in Japan, where most of the industries are computerized and automated, some restaurants are run by robots. They have less or either no service personnel that would assist you. I have seen in some videos that their ordering system is that their menu, the digital menu is on your table, and you just have to select, and a robot will come to serve your order. So we can infer that there are positive and negative impact of automation. But that's just one example of how the theory of lean manufacturing can be applied in the hospitality industry. And certainly there are many more example. Another one would be the use of the Ving card in the hotels. Ving card is the card. It's a digital card that you use or will serve as your key to your hotel room. Before, we used to use a manual key, but now the Ving card, we're using a digital card, and that will open up your room. When you place that um, on the wall, it will automatically light your room. It will generate electricity. It will open up your curtain. And that is the power of technology or automation. All right. So the fourth theory is the theory of performance frontier. Schmenner and Swink, 1998, proposed the theory of performance frontier. The theory is called so because the authors use a production function or performance frontier curve to illustrate this theory. Production function methodology maps the maximum output that can be produced from any given set of inputs given technological considerations. Schmenner and Swink expand this economic model by defining inputs to include all dimensions of manufacturing performance, as well as defining technical considerations as all choices affecting the design and operation of the manufacturing unit. They suggest, consistent with the operations management thinking, that a distinction can be drawn between the operating frontier, which represents operational activities within a given set of assets, the asset frontier, which reflects the infrastructural elements or asset utilization of the operations. In effect, the operating frontier models the most effective and efficient use of inputs, and the asset frontier models the best design and configuration of transformation input. At this point, we will look into the various laws of theory of performance frontier. First is the law of cumulative capability. All right, so let us have first the law of cumulative capabilities. An improvement in one manufacturing capability leads to improvement in others. Schmenner and Swink, 1998, suggests that such improvements are made over time. Moreover, there may be certain sequences or trajectories of improvement that build one upon the other. For instance, quality leads to lower cost, and this is followed by increased speed of delivery. So, just so we could understand this law of cumulative capabilities, let's try to define what is cumulative. We can recall in our mathematics of the cumulative property, when we say cumulative, it is an increasing or increase in quantity or degree or force by successive addition. So whenever that you would add something or to add resource to the production, it will um, it will contribute or it will add to greater productivity, just like with the example given that quality will lead to lower cost. Okay, and it will be followed by an increased speed of delivery because of the addition of various elements or various input in your production. Number two, the law of diminishing returns. As improve or betterment moves a manufacturing plant nearer and nearer to its operating frontier or asset frontier, more and more resources must be expended in order to achieve each additional incremental benefit. Okay, so the law of diminishing returns, or when we say to diminish, this means to decrease in value or to decrease in the quantity of your output. And the law of diminishing marginal return states that adding an additional factor of production will result in smaller increase in output. After some optimal level of capacity utilization, the addition of any larger amounts of a factory of production will inevitably yield decrease per unit incremental returns. So what does this mean? Because in operations management, you have to realize that certain production will achieve its optimum quality. However, as you try to have more and more resources invested on that production, you will, or when you have reached that asset frontier or the peak of the production, there will come a time that the production output will diminish because of it cannot hold its carrying capacity. Okay, so we have to stop on that particular level. And number three is the law of diminishing synergy. The law of cumulative capability suggests that there is synergy between policies and procedures. This synergy diminishes as a plant approaches its asset frontier. When we say synergy, it means the interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substance, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. So the law of diminishing synergy suggests that um, when you combine policies and procedures, you will have greater capabilities. However, this combined um, interaction of the policies and procedure will diminish as you reach the asset frontier or as you reach the optimum level, just like the explanation of the law of diminishing returns. It will, when it has reached its pinnacle or summit, it will go down. So in illustration, it's like a curve. Okay, so after reaching that pinnacle or summit, it will go down or it will diminish its returns, value, or output. All right, so how this can be applied in the hospitality industry. Jones 2002 identified two further process trends in the industry consistent with this theory. The development of the so-called micro units and the dual or multi-use of physical infrastructure. Micro units are food service outlets of the very small size aimed at serving often limited or captive market. They include outlets in petrol filling stations, cinemas, sports stadium, the workplace, and so on. Their growth derives from the fact that more traditional sites are now unavailable, and the demand for eating out continues to grow. Just like with what we are experiencing nowadays, that on the trend I have observed in the outskirts of Tayabas, that there is a proliferation of pop-up store and booth or kiosks outdoor, which are an example of micro units or marginalized food service sector in which they are selling beverages, burgers, sandwiches, and various snack items, which are street food items. Okay, and there's an increasing demand of this because people would love to eat out even in the times of pandemic. Okay, and people are tired of the traditional restaurant concept, so there is a proliferation of this kind of micro units of the food service outlet. The final trend of dual or multi use of infrastructure is sometimes a consequence of devising micro units. When a brand is enabled to be delivered inside a small footprint, it can be incorporated into an existing outlet. Eventually, this micro units, when it grows, it will eventually become a big restaurant. Who knows that in 2 years or three, and when they are able to grow their business and have more customers patronizing and requesting for more from them, these micro units will eventually grow and will yield a lean manufacturing, greater output, and greater financial gain from this venture. All right, this is the fifth and last theory associated with operations management, and it is the theory of service experience. Customers are different to materials in that they sense and respond to their environment. They interact with the operation and form opinions about their experience. So it's very natural with customers to be opinionated with their experience because as customers, we say that customer is always right or customers are the lifeblood of the business, and so our experience matters. And let's see how these various laws can be applied in the theory of service experience. Number one is the law of adaptive experience. A customer process is more productive when customer feedback adapts the process both immediately and over the long term. So this is what I am saying, that the customer's feedback are very paramount or valuable for the establishment because it is a reliable source of information, because you could adapt your processes based on customers' feedback. Say, for example, that you are not satisfied with the taste of the product that you have ordered, and when this feedback was delivered or has reached the management, hopefully that they will take this constructively. They will eventually try to develop a product that will suit your palate or that will suit your buds or discerning taste. And that is the essence of feedback for continuous improvement, right? So customers learn to adapt their respective processes based on the feedback of the customers. Number two is the law of matching expectations. A customer process will be more productive if customer expectations match with their perception. So even before we buy or purchase a product or service, we have perceptions, and we would always wanted to that perception to match our expectation. And we would oftentimes see memes on our social media, the expectation versus reality. And I see that I see the posts of some unsatisfied customers or clients, say for example on their orders on Shopee or Lazada, that the expectation did not match the reality or the actual product. So as a customer, we would want to be satisfied or to be provided with the highest value of what we have paid for. So therefore, manufacturers and establishments or businesses should take into consideration of matching the expectations with the perceptions of our customers. And the last would be the law of cumulative effect. Productive customer processes have a cumulative effect on customer expectations. So, with the various information that the customers are receiving, they are able to receive information through many different channels on social media, on the marketing ads, on that they hear on radios, they see on TV, they see on posters. This will add up, or this will contribute to the running expectations of on the product or on the service. So it's very important for the marketing team that they should be able to have or to market the product and their services based on um, the actual experience that they will be having when they purchase or when they try your product or services. So, how could this service experience be applied in hospitality? Another trend by Jones 1988 is customer participation, otherwise known as self service. Many hospitality operations now enable their customers to do things for themselves that they were previously done for them. So, just like in when you have traveled, no, there's what we call the self check-in counter, wherein if you plan to travel lightly or you have few baggages, you could use of this service of self check-in, wherein you will just encode various information and have yourself check in and skip the long queue or the long line in the airport. So it's kind of very easy. And there are some other applications of the self-service counter, just like um, in it is possible to check into a hotel by using a swipe card system, select salad items for a self-help salad bar, and check out of a hotel using the in-room television set. Okay. And just like with what I have mentioned on the automation and the advent of technology in the hospitality industry, it could have um, yield greater output because of efficiency and effectivity on the use of this kinds of technology. All right, so we are done with our lecture. On our next discussion, we will be discussing the distinctive features of hospitality, but that's it for now on our discussion on the various theories associated with operations management. So I hope that you have learned so much today. And again, I am Professor Jeremiah Elioso, and thank you very much, and you have a good day. Bye bye.